Hola, muy buenas. He hablado y entrevistado a mis amigos Elio y Linda, es decir, los coautores del Mundo y Fuego y de Rise of the Dragon, y según George Martin, las personas que mejor conocen Poniente, mejor que él mismo. ¡Vamos con ello! En primer lugar, gracias por ver el vídeo, gracias por la me gusta en el vídeo, gracias por compartir el vídeo, gracias por suscribiros al canal. Son especiales a los nuevos suscriptores y ya digo, me hace muchísima ilusión entrevistar a Elio y Linda. Les conozco, son amigos de hace casi una década, pero queríamos hablar del aniversario del Mundo Hielo y Fuego. Y ya digo, este mes de noviembre es una pasada, ya tuvimos hace 2 semanas la charla con Fran y con Joshua, pero es que es esta semana de Linda, y la semana que viene, si no hay contratiempos, si no hay imprevistos de última hora, si no hay una novedad que me obligue a cambiar los planes, el vídeo de mi charla, de mi cena con George Martin en Glasgow. Que fue increíble, evidentemente. Y que George Martin me conocía, y darse cuenta de que George Martin conocía a los 7 reinos fue increíble. Ya había estado con Martin en el pasado, pero no había cenado con él, como este caso. Y eso será la semana que viene, si no hay ningún compromiso raro de última hora. También vamos a tener, posiblemente la semana que viene, si no la siguiente, la reseña del, gracias a Penguin Random House España, de la edición ilustrada de Juego de Tronos. Y lo que sí es seguro, última semana del mes, martes, si no hay contratiempos, directo mensual del canal para hablar, por ejemplo, con vosotros de que me hagáis preguntas sobre mi cena con George Martin. El jueves que viene va a ser un vídeo, el martes últimos de mes será un directo para tener cita con vosotros, y jueves, último jueves de mes, en 2 semanas, charla con Ted Nasmith. La charla con Ted Nasmith, igual que el vídeo con Elio y Linda, lo ha traducido y subtitulado la amiga unicecano, que es licenciada, graduada en interpretación, y es bastante jefa de este tema, ¿no? Entonces ya digo, bueno, el vídeo con Elio y Linda, pues eso, lo vais, para los que solo escucháis los vídeos y no los veis, pues hablamos en inglés. Mi acento en inglés se entiende muy bien, a Elio y Linda igual entendéis menos, pero bueno, está todo subtitulado al castellano. Se vienen unas semanas súper interesantes. En noviembre, mi charla con Javi Sack de la Hielo y Fuego, hablando de House of the Dragon, que hubiera salido la semana pasada, pero con el tema de la película pues lo moví. Charla con Tomás Hijo, tengo también una charla con Ertac, Altinoz y alguna incluso sorpresa más. Va a haber un sorteo seguramente de esta edición ilustrada de Juego de Tronos. Bueno, muchísimas novedades. Pero no me enrollo más y vamos ya a hablar con las personas que mejor conocen Poniente, que son amigos míos y que no son otros que Elio y Linda. Hola, muy buenas. Well, I am here again with very good friends, real friends since a decade ago. It's an honor for me to talk again with Elio and Linda. Welcome again to Los 7 Reinos.
Thank you so much.
Gracias.
Happy to be here.
It's so nice to talk with you. I was talking with you before. We met 9 years ago in Barcelona, and since this decade we have become real friends. And for me, it's a pleasure to talk as you, not as only as people I really admire, but more important as friends. So we are celebrating the anniversary of the World of Ice and Fire, and also the anniversary of your wedding. How was the anniversary of your wedding? What did you do for your wedding?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, it's we were together for a very long time before we got married, but
and then we kind of decided when the book was coming out, and actually it came out. The US publication date was October 28th, and that also happened to be my mother's birthday. And by the time the book came out, she was already quite ill in Alzheimer's, and she's then passed away. But I thought it'd be a nice way to commemorate that day further. So we figured, if we're ever going to get married, this is a good time. So we had a very simple, just quick court wedding, essentially, in the day. And in the evening, we spent it at SF Bokhandeln in Gothenburg signing books.
Yes.
So we actually had a book signing to celebrate our wedding. We didn't do that this time. We went to a restaurant instead. But that was also very good.
So you didn't do like a party for your friends or your family the day you finally signed the papers?
We didn't, because most of my family lives further north in Sweden, and most of our friends at the time we had on the internet. anyway. So there wasn't really that many people nearby to invite. So we had some nice food and cake and so on at home, and we just made it a small thing. If I had had to plan something, we still wouldn't be married. If I had to try and plan exactly what I wanted, it wouldn't be done still. So.
Well, I have to say, only a prestigious author can be as interesting as to be celebrating his or her wedding, signing book. So to be honest, it's the first time I have heard it in my life. So that says a lot about you. Well, so 10 years ago, you celebrated your wedding to do a big event because you were the authors of The World of Ice and Fire. I have interviewed you in the past, but I interviewed you about this 10 years ago. So please remind for the audience of or other people who doesn't remember how started this project of The World of Ice and Fire.
So basically in 2004, after living in Sweden for 5 years, I went back to the United States to see my family for the first time since I moved. And we were driving cross country from Florida to Nevada because my sister was moving to Las Vegas, where my parents already were. And I realized, hey, we're passing close to Santa Fe, and we arranged, through payphones and so on, to meet George. And I had dinner with George and Paris, and over dinner. And that was after visiting his house and seeing all his miniatures and his books and things. The computer where he worked, and he mentioned, there are publishers after me about doing some sort of book about the world or a setting, like an illustrated book, but I don't have time to do it. I'm still working on A Feast for Crows. Do you and think you and Linda would want to do it? And yes, but the contract was finally signed. I think George said in 2006 at some point, or late 2005, like, a deal's been hammered out with Random House, and then in 2006, the Worldcon, we went over to Worldcon at the invitation of Random House, where we received a contract, so we signed the contract. George has always said we kind of, he has claimed that we seem to know Westeros better than he does. I like to say that he has forgotten more about Westeros than we've ever known to begin with. But it was a great matter of his trust and supporting us. Now, of course, A Feast for Crows was late. So he was driving right into Dance with Dragons, and then, or they have the order wrong. A Feast for Crows was 2004, right?
A Feast for Crows 2005, first in the UK.
Sorry, yes. So he was because it had been one had been so delayed. He was continuing on Dance with Dragons because he thought that one would come out quickly. So basically, we did our part, but the book finally when he published it. When he was done with Dance of Dragons, that's when he really worked with us to finish the book. So, contract signed 2006, book came out in 2014 for that reason, but it became much better. I mean, just in sales, because of Game of Thrones, made a huge number of readers, and also George actually had some time to contribute to it. And I mean, he wrote his sidebars, which became very, very long. So much so that Fire and Blood is basically 90% is what the stuff that he already wrote for Wise of Fire that we just couldn't fit in there. Yes. So it proved a really fun experience and has been
it snowballed into a lot of other things because of it, as in because George had to write all this material. He had all the material that could become Fire and Blood, and had all the history material and so on, and obviously even so we have a House of the Dragons, and
other shows have been pitched to HBO, like the Miria show. All of that came out of All the Rise and Fire, so we think that's pretty cool.
No, and well, I have always said that, and people really are not conscious of how important was the World of Ice and Fire, because it created the history of the world, but also talk about the different places of the world that we love, because we love A Song of Ice and Fire. I think everyone prefers to read a novel than to read an encyclopedia, than to read a more historical text. When you're really invested in a product, you really want to read all the details of that wall, the wall that has means so much for you. You want to know more about. Oh, Melisandre was from Asai. Where is Asai? What happened in Asai? Oh, this guy is talking about a king in the past. So who was this king? Who was this land de Clever? And thanks to the Wall of Ice and Fire, we got all of that. Of course, after you said, George brought so much that Fire and Blood came after that. If I recall correctly, the thing that George didn't write a lot in the Wall of Ice and Fire, but he had to write for Fire and Blood was especially the old king, no? The Jaehaerys the First was the king he hadn't written a lot in the Wall of Ice and Fire and was included in Fire and Blood. Well, we'll go more times, we advance, then the Rise of the Dragon came, we talk about the Rise of the Dragon, we won't talk again, but we are again 10 years later about the Wall of Ice and Fire, and then suddenly you had an idea. This is your plot from Westeros.org, and you had an idea, and you said, well, maybe we could start a project to celebrate the anniversary of the Wall of Ice and Fire. Here you have explained a bit of it, but please tell the audience why did you? For me, this is a gift for the community, and I have always explained that you could have simply asked the illustrators to design a painting and just to be sent to yourself, and you could just put it in a frame in your living room, and only you would enjoy that. Instead of that, you choose to share it with the community. You were so generous. People really doesn't appreciate it. Maybe if people know more about how much does it cost to order a painting to an illustrator, but why did you were so generous? Why did you decide to do this so amazing gift to the community?
Well, obviously, to some extent, or to a very large extent, we wouldn't be where we are today if there wasn't such a big community. And the popularity of the wiki in particular, and having all the attention that has brought us together with the books. So we ended up talking, it may have been more than a year ago that we first started saying that, 10-year anniversary is coming up and we should do something to mark it. And we had also talked about commissioning some art for the wiki as a bit of a reward for everyone who's worked so hard on the wiki, because there's always discussions about finding art to illustrate. I mean, there's been so many creators who've generously shared and allowed their art to be used on the wiki, but there's always going to be moments and things that have not been illustrated or that we had a particular fondness for. So eventually those two ideas sort of met, that we wanted to give something back, especially sort of to the wiki community, and that we wanted to mark the 10-year anniversary in some cool way. And obviously what a lot of people think about when they talk about the World of Ice and Fire is the art. That often gets brought up as, there's so much art in it, and that was always what George thought was most important. Where's the art for this? Where's the art for this? How are we going to illustrate this? He always saw it as a big art book with obviously lots of important text, but he really wanted lots of cool art. So that seemed like a very appropriate way of celebrating the anniversary.
I absolutely agree with you, and I have to say, for example, I remember talking with Elio 1 or 2 months ago, explaining him. I had finished reading The Wheel of Time. The Wheel of Time has a kind of the Wall of Ice and Fire book. I don't know if you know about that is called The Wall of Robert Jordan. Well, the thing about the Wall of Robert Jordan that is very good, considering the information that appears in the book, is that it doesn't have a lot of illustrations. And frankly, the comparison with the Wall of Ice and Fire is pretty sad and leaves, let's say, the Wall of Ice and Fire in a very high place. Okay, we could say the positive because
I believe George brought it up.
Actually, yes, we both independent. George was aware of the book, and George brought it up and saying like he doesn't want the book to look like that. And and I mean the story behind it, I don't know if you're aware of it. I know you've only come to read The Wheel of Time recently. Basically, the artist who did all the art, one artist did.
I'm thinking about the original book, the one that was done before Robert Jordan died.
Yes. The original artist for that basically was paid by the publisher very little money. They kind of thought they could get him to work cheap, and well, he gave them the quality of work, but the pay merited. Robert Jordan would later say in public, had he known that Tor was so cheap, he personally would have paid the artist more to get better work out of him.
He had seen sketches that
they
were
look great.
that were much better than.
So yes, I mean, in the fandom, that book became known as the big
white book of bad art.
It's a shame. It is a very cool book, and
the text is very good, and it's interesting because it's done around book 6 or 7 of the Wheel of Time. I remember you were also texting in the Wheel of Time forums, but it's a pity because, frankly, the art is not very good, and but I think it's very important what you said. You can recommend the Wall of Ice and Fire for the text, but also for the art. And it's very I don't know how to say, very generous of you to say that, because you are the authors with George R. Martin of the text. So praising the other side of the book is also very humble, and I really appreciate it. But it's true. I could say to someone, okay, maybe you only watch Game of Thrones, you have not read the books, but you could actually buy this book. And you would actually like this book. If you like art, even if you are not interested in reading like 1,000 pages book, just if you like very good art, very good illustration, you will love this book.
Yeah, no, a great job was by the art director at at Random House and Grohl and so on. It's very different, our experience between the Roll of Ice and Fire and Rise of a Dragon. With the Roll of Ice and Fire, although we wrote, half the text, most of the decisions on what things to illustrate and what illustrations to ask for and what artists to hire were all made by Random House and Grohl and so on. And then we would see the art in development and comment on it then, but we didn't have a say in let's illustrate this or this or this. Whereas with Rise of a Dragon, we had much more of a direct role in sort of not just listing artists. We actually gave them a big list of artists we wanted to work with, and some of the artists we named got picked by them. But also specific, like we went through the pages and said this could be an interesting illustration, this could be an interesting illustration. So a lot of the illustrations in that one came from our decision. So that was kind of cool, and we kind of liked that process of being more involved. So I think that directly led to the idea, like this one is one where we are 100% in charge of deciding things. What do we want to see? What do we want to do? What are the artists we want to work with?
I have to say, and this is I say it truly, when people say, okay, I love House of the Dragon, I want to know more about this book. And if I know the people is the typical only show watcher, I don't say to them, read Fire and Blood. I say, read The Rise of the Dragon. If you like A Song of Ice and Fire, you have read long books, you will like the Fire and Blood. But if not, Fire and Blood, for me, the text is a bit arid, is a bit Wikipedic, as I said. I remember, of course I love Fire and Blood, but I remember saying to a friend of mine who really reads a lot, you have to read this book, you will love this because it's the Dance of the Dragons, is super epic, and Aegon Conquest, and the part about Jaehaerys Kingdom and Aegon the Third Regency is very interesting. And he told me, it's very boring. And I was devastated. But then I gave to this friend The Rise of the Dragon. He said, oh, this is nice. I prefer this book. It has less text and the illustrations are superb. So, in my opinion, it's not say that Fire and Blood is bad, not at all, of course. And it's the reference.
But it's more for very hardcore. If you really want, it reads like a history book. It really reads like a history book. Yeah.
We said from the beginning when Rise of a Dragon was announced, I told people, because we always get every time something is announced, it's a money grab. It's like, well, it's a business, so they're looking to. But I think, from my understanding, is they saw. I mean, Fire and Blood was a bestseller. Fire and Blood did well, but they could see that there were people that were saying this is too much text. It's too dense. It's too complicated. I don't want to read it. And they saw a niche where we could. So we said, this is for collectors who are completists. They want to collect things. They are for art lovers who just like really cool art. And there are people who looked at Fire and Blood, really want to know what they're getting, and said, Fire and Blood is too big. I want something that's a bit more concise. And that's where we fit in. And I mean, it's done very well. The book's been a bestseller as well. So we were upfront, like right off, telling people this is exactly what it is and what it isn't. So don't buy it. If you've read Fire and Blood and you know everything about Fire and Blood, you don't need this book unless you want to see the art. It has a little bit of new information, but not a lot.
But the art is so good that really compensates everything. But I'm really happy that The Race of the Dragon was also a hit, because we still don't know anything about the Spanish publication. I have my hopes now, because now that, for example, Penguin Random House in Spain has finally published the illustrated edition of A Song of Ice and Fire, I always say to the people, if you want the World of Ice and Fire in Spain again, if you want the Rise of the Dragon in Spain, buy this collector book, because if I illustrated edition of A Game of Thrones sells well, I'm sure the publisher that already has the rights, because it's Penguin Random House, will bring these books to Spanish. So I think it's very important that this, as you say, collector's book, a bit more niche books, art books sell well if you are really interested in this world. Well, so you, Linda, explained it perfectly. You wanted to give back to the community a bit of what you receive. Trust me, we, the community, will never be able in 100 lives to return you as much as you have given to us. And I speak with the tip of my heart these words. But then you had to choose art for your magnificent idea. So why did you this like, I am going to do 6 illustrations, 10 illustrations, 12? Do you have a number in your head? Why did you choose this number? You were just having ideas. Okay, on Friday there's going to be 7, and on Monday you thought, oh, maybe one dragon would be more interesting. How did you finish with this number of
10 and 12 were always numbers that we discussed. 12 because we had sort of the thought of maybe we should have released it as a unofficial calendar over the year, basically. So that was. And 10 because it was the 10th anniversary. And then I think we had, because we said, okay, we can't do a calendar because there is an official calendar. We don't want to compete with that. So if we
release a calendar, it would be a free.
Yes, basically,
PDF,
but even so, like, so
we didn't want to.
So, but we drifted back then to 10, I think. And initially we thought dragons because of, we're seeing various takes on dragons because of House of the Dragons. We are seeing sort of which dragons don't have illustrations on the Wikipedia. So the first thing we did was make a list of dragons that lacked what we thought really striking illustrations. And it could have been 10 dragons. And then we also started talking about some other ideas that we really wanted to see illustrated, and a lot of it gravitated to sort of the, Robert's Rebellion, the Rhaegar and Lyanna and everything around that. And that's when we ended up, okay, well, then we have to have 6 of each.
Yes.
So
because I was now adding, and it's 6 dragons, 6 Rhaegar and company.
Yes. So I'm very much like that. I want things nice and neatly divided. So that's where we ended up. And we didn't have off the top of our heads 6 artists that we had felt like were really sort of dragon experts. So that's where we ended up with 2 artists there that we thought would have 2 very different styles and very different takes on dragons, with Ertac doing very classic fantasy dragons, and Rudolf Hima doing from a paleo artist point of view, as very cool contrasts. And then we started looking for others who'd have time to
do the other scenes.
Do the other scenes.
I think we approached. Honestly, I think we approached in total. I know of 2 artists that didn't, that kind of responded to us and ultimately couldn't do it. Maybe 3, 2 I'm certain of. who considered it but said like they were busy or they were they're honored but they couldn't do it. So but otherwise everyone we asked was a yes, and we were very pleased by that. I mean, all, as we've said, 5 of the artists have already worked in the space professionally. Arantza, the calendar, the illustrated edition, Ertac, obviously, Rene, Aigner, the Mark Smiley, even with the one image for Rise of a Dragon. But and then there's Rudolf Hima, who's this Indonesian artist who's just really he did some awesome fan art when like Fire and Blood came out, or like House of a Dragon started. But it was all like his art was based on Fire and Blood. And it was just really amazing, and so we definitely wanted to ask him, and I'm very pleased to work with him. He was it's great pieces, and it's very, very easy to work with.
Now let's go to see the pieces. First one is Sunfire. I guess you chose Sunfire because it's considered canonically as the most beautiful dragon. No, that was why was your choice.
Yes.
And because he could have been a lot more golden on the show.
Yes.
So we really wanted it to go all out on the gold.
Yeah. You didn't know how would it look like in the show. It wasn't still aired when you ordered the illustration, no?
No, I mean when did we start the when I don't exactly recall when we started getting the first illustrations back, but
That's a good question.
I'll do a quick glance here because I have this folder.
The point is that, well, technically we saw Sunfire in season 1 of House of the Dragon. Technically,
what we do know is how could this be? This is not the correct date. I'm so confused on the. Oh, there's something off with the dates.
Because it's showing 2022, and we definitely did not receive it in 2022.
I'm not sure why it's saying.
But it is true.
Look, I would say it was somewhere. I would say probably in like July or August. But regardless, we certainly know how the show had been depicting the colorful dragons. For the most part, they are not as vibrant as what George. So we knew they were going to go very gold, and we pushed that like gold.
But I have to say, I also recorded with Ertac and talk about this art. I have to say that, to be honest, it's very hard to do a very colorful dragon in a TV show and doesn't look too ridiculous or too fantasy trope dragon. You have to do it a more gritty. You cannot do a super oldie gold dragon or super pink dragon. I think it has to be more brownish, not totally golden, because on TV it's not the same on TV that on a comic book or an illustration book. But I what I love about this Sunfire is, as I was saying to Ertac, is a very beautiful dragon with the golden and the pink thing, but it's also scary. I wouldn't like to cross with the dragon outside, and this dragon looks totally like he could kill you or eat you whenever he wants to. So I think you wanted this approach, a beautiful dragon, but also menacing, also a threat to the people. Yes, and this is
quite impressive there, sunning himself in the courtyard, and the way the pink of the wings and sort of kind of matches the red keep, and
so you actually asked for the dragon to be in King's Landing in the red keep, or you just tell draw some fire wherever you want.
Yeah.
We had some ideas for each of them, and so here we wanted, because of we wanted to see him with the sun on the scales and perhaps basking in the sunlight here, sort of drying his wings a bit, and
I love also. I was also telling to Ertac, I love how the art of the red keep is like the very canonical red keep, very red, but with also. It reminds me a bit of Mediterranean cities with the style of the building blocks, and it's very beautiful. But let's move to the second dragon. That is a totally different style. As you said, Rudolf Hima is totally different of Ertac, no? So you were telling in advance. You contacted Rudolf because you saw his art about fan art, because you saw fan art of Rudolf Hima.
Yes, exactly. He did a piece of Maegor the Cruel on Balerion fighting his nephew
Maegor.
On
Quicksilver.
Quicksilver. Yeah.
And then the other piece is kind of a Dance of Dragons spoiler, the battle above the God's Eye.
Yeah. I think this is. I think I found it, and so you saw this art, and you say, okay, this guy knows how to do like crazy dragons. I think it's this one. This one is the one you're talking about.
That's that one, and then there's one other, but that one certainly is one of them. And just the level of detail, the fact that it looked had its own take on what the dragons looked like. It wasn't too beholden to Game of Thrones, House of Dragon. It was it really, and I said he is what they call a paleo artist. His specialty is depicting dinosaurs. So he draws on that, and with a very anatomical, anatomical knowledge and so on. It works really well. So like that fish there, that's like a giant tuna. That's like a 3-ton, tuna. Is the idea. So it's not a little fish. It's a gigantic, fish. Originally he was going to have a shark instead, like a great white. I thought my only thing was like, do we have sharks in that area of the narrow seas? I figured safer to say a tuna. So it's a giant tuna.
So well, I totally agree with you. I love dinosaurs. When I was a kid and many kids, my passion was dinosaurs. My favorite movie was Jurassic Park, of course. And as you said, this looks, of course, Cyrax too, but this even more like a real creature. You could totally see this guy in a fossil in a museum, or you really see this guy as a big lizard, okay? Not like a fantastic creature, like a mutation, but just a great lizard with great wings. So why did you ask for a gray ghost? My thought is because it's a dragon that is we don't expect this dragon to appear in House of the Dragon because it doesn't have a big role in House of the Dragon. So that's why you chose the gray ghost.
Yes, we didn't think that he was going to be A, featured perhaps on the show, and B, there have been illustrations showing, I think, all three of the wild dragons together.
Rene,
yes, that's right. But none focused on
the individual
gray ghost. So we talked about having the cannibal, but he'd be all black, and so and Sheep Stealer has obviously featured more because he gets more of a story role.
Piece as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and I kind of have a soft spot for him. He was shy, timid fellow, just minding his business.
And he was killed. He was killed by another dragon. Poor Grey.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah. So I like him. It's a cool name as well, the Grey Ghost, and I love the color palette is here. So everything kind of just watery white, and grey and.
It's lovely. It's so lovely. Well, now we have seen two dragons. We are going to see the first art that is not from a dragon, but the other thing that I said is Raigaranko. And this is an art by Rene Aigner that is a top artist, as you said, The World of Ice and Fire, The Rise of the Dragon, and the calendar. And he did this crazy piece. I remember when Elio was telling me about this project, and I saw that is Harrenhal,
that is just
and it's nuts. It's nuts. How there? I don't know. 100 tens. I don't know. Well, tell to the audience, why did you choose to depict the Harrenhal? Like, how big was a Harrenhal Torneo? Or why did you choose especially this art?
I mean, it's Barristan Selmy tells Danny it was the greatest tourney of them all, and we thought, we've seen images of Rhaegar and Lyanna at the tourney. Like Games had one. We had an artist do it for the World of Ice and Fire, but it's all
the moment
in the tourney ground, and people must have come from people must have come from all over. It must have been this enormous sort of temporary city, basically. And so we thought, let's see that, and he just went to town with it. He did the Harrenhal, this kind of huge design. We wanted to be out by the God's Eye, so there's the water. And Rene came up with the idea of having this sort of built-up arena, basically, which is kind of interesting. But we didn't say that to him. But that was, I don't know if he was inspired directly by House of the Dragon, its premiere episode, where they have in King's Landing this arena. But it was actually funny because I just the other day I had shown the pieces to Ryan Condal,
Oh,
I sent him the link to them to if he had seen it, and he commented like he liked the fact that he could see that House of the Dragon's depiction of Harrenhal and also and I guess the turning grounds were kind of clearly inspired Rene. He liked that, the fact that that was an influence.
I see also that this is Harrenhal in the back in ruins. Like you can still see that it's a crazily big castle because you can see the size of the people that live in the front door of the castle. And I have to say, tell Elio. No, what I want.
I was going to say, I have seen people complain it's not exactly how they imagine Harrenhal, or it's not big enough. I mean, I tried to do I decided to measure the pixels of one of those little people out there and extrapolate the size of a castle, and it's pretty big. Exactly right, but it's I think it's a good depiction. I mean, we just like George, we didn't want to force artists to constantly revise things to be exactly like we saw it in our head. You have to give them the freedom to kind of we did do some. We did get him to tweak a little bit with Harrenhal. I think he made the gatehouse a little bigger because I mean, when Jamie rides through, he talked about this how enormous just the gatehouse is. But otherwise, it's his imagination.
No. I remember that when I interviewed Ertac. I remember I was praising Ertac the depiction of the Iron Throne and Dragonstone that is not canonical, but it's his own take. As you said, artists should have liberty. Ertac Altinoz Iron Throne is not the totally canon Iron Throne by Marc Simonetti, but that the Iron Throne that is in Rise of the Dragon with that twist looks also very great. And the Dragonstone that Ertac did for the Rise of the Dragon looks like very gothic for me with the great, very, very great dragons. I love that what you said, the artist should have his own take. And I have to ask you about the flags, because I don't know if somebody has talked to you about this, but it looks like there are a lot of Spanish flags here with the yellow.
I have heard people comment this.
I guess they are Lannisters, no? But
I guess he was speaking Westerland lords and so on. Obviously, the green and yellow, I think, was probably supposed to be the Tyrrells and so on. I think, obviously, look, he works. He is an artist who works through. He will compose things in 3D. If you look at some of his breakdowns of his images, so some of his stuff may be 3D assets that he duplicates, but then he paints over, and so on. So, and then he may duplicate some of it to fill out, because you can't ask someone to do individually each and every
paint
one.
all of these individually.
So I think a lot of it is a copy paste, but I think
it could have been a Spanish invasion as well.
It could have been a Spanish invasion. Yes, nobody expects the Spanish invasion. Yes.
No, the thing is that in my canon there are a lot of yellow and red flags because people from the Westerlands, and also the green ones are from the Reeds. No, it would be like a regional flag of the Kingdom of the Reeds. In my canon, they are both the kingdoms that bring more people to those events, the Westerlands and the Reeds. No, they are they are the most populated. They have a lot of knights. They are very rich. They are the richest kingdom. So it's logical that they move a lot of people to this big tournament. No.
Yeah.
We
love it. We love the amount of work he put into it, and it's it really captured it. The main thing is that we wanted to see this huge sprawling encampment, basically.
Yes. You can. I haven't counted it, and to be honest, I won't count the number of tents. But you can.
I should have told him. I should have told him though. You should hide Waldo in there somewhere. Waldo? That would have been hilarious if he was hidden in there somewhere.
Maybe there is Waldo, and nobody has still found
Waldo. Right.
It would be funny. It would be funny to put. If I would be Rene, what I would have done. If I would put George in there, a tiny guy with a bear, with a book, something like that. And if you zoom a lot, you will see George R. Martin sitting around somewhere. That would be funny. Well, that was the number 3 by Rene Aigner, and the number 4 is another dragon, and a dragon again by Ertac, and it's a dragon that we are almost sure we won't see in House of the Dragon. That is Morning. I guess you chose Morning for the same as Grey Ghost.
Yes.
Because
it's not a criticism of the show as such. It's just like the reality is the show has had to make choices of what to show and not to show. I mean, in the first season, they mentioned they had, there's these 3 wild dragons as well, and now they seem to have largely forgotten them, except for cheap stealers, sort of. So we thought, mourning seems to be falling by the wayside. Like, why not have Ertac do the picture? This is not the mourning that we have seen in Rise of a Dragon, who's still a baby. This is
yes, it was a very, very tiny dragon. Yes.
Yeah. So this is more grown, and this is obviously in the ruins of the dragon pit. We thought, I don't know, I just thought it'd be an interesting image, and he did a great job, particularly showing the light shining through the wings.
Oh, that was very cool. I also like the way that you have the pinker light of the sunset coming through as well, and kind of matching the color of the dragon. So it was nice to be able to do one that if people do fan art of mourning, it will almost certainly mainly be the very young dragon that we see. So getting to see a more grown-up version, it's another cool aspect.
Yes, and I also admire of this illustration that it's a pink dragon that is not ridiculous. When you imagine a pink dragon in your head, it's like a very prominent pink, like it's almost like
a My Little Pony dragon.
Yes, totally, Linda, totally. So, but this is like a very white and pink. Is a very not a strong pink, but as you can see at almost the sun. When the sun goes through the wings of the dragon, it's also almost white. You can see that the tips are almost white, not just pink. So that's how you make a pink dragon, like a real dragon, a menacing dragon, a dragon who could.
Yes, I mean, it looks like it could be a flesh and scale color of an animal, not like it's painted pink or made up.
Almost it seems like a corpse dragon, even being so white sometimes. Yeah. Maybe like a red dragon that is like suffering or has a little bit of his color, but also being a beautiful dragon. I connect mourning with Reina. Reina is in my mind. Mourning had to be a beautiful dragon and a very expected dragon. She was the dragon she was expecting for her whole life. So yeah, and I remember also talking about with Ertac about the barbs. Did you specifically set him to have those barbs?
We just mentioned obviously all the dragons have spines and so on, but that was his own idea. We didn't really specify that. That was his take on it, and he figured, one thing I do feel that is sometimes lost from some fan depictions of dragons is like the horns and so on are quite different shapes, or they can look quite different. I think is George's idea of it. The style of the horns, the way they twist or turn, if they're straight, if they curve, or if they're spiraling, those are all kind of, it varies from dragon to dragon. There's no. I think House of Dragon did a pretty good job actually of introducing the idea that there are dragons that have different looks to them. But they you can tell they're all dragons, but there's some subtle differences. So
almost like there are sub breeds within the big dragon family.
Kind of an interesting idea that they had there. So we just let them kind of we saw it. Was that cool? Let's go with it. I think maybe there's a detail that the horn and spines are black. I can't recall. So, I
only
remember is always black. Yes. Yeah.
No, but I tell you, it's a very beautiful and very original. I think that all the dragons we have seen are very, very original. Well, let's move to the next dragon, and we return again to Rudolf Hima, and it's also a dragon that I guess we won't see in House of the Dragon, or doesn't look like it will appear in House of the Dragon. That is Tyraxes.
Yeah.
With his
Rudolf did an amazing job of that one. Yeah.
Wow, this is great. Wow.
Yeah. No, he's a fantastic artist, and this one is the color of a dragon is never mentioned in Rise of a Dragon or Rise and Fire, but George did share notes with us about what they should look like, so we decided what the show's not going to show it. We've already done Rise of a Dragon, we're not going to do it again, so why not just it's a small detail, but yeah, it's kind of a violet purple colored dragon with violet colored flames, and really love what he did. Like the fact that you could see the glow through its chest. Even that was kind of a cool idea.
It's like
think
there's a nuclear power there.
We have never seen a dragon with purple fire. Is the only dragon that canonically we know has purple fire? Or this
I would have to
almost
look through
pink.
the notes.
But what George said in the notes is that the flames match the color of the dragon.
Yeah, it tends to match the color.
So
of the
maybe
dragon.
morning has also like this kind of fire.
I would have to actually look at the notes
Yeah.
to see offhand the specific
But
fire colors.
Linda, what you said, the color of the flame is linked to the color of the dragon. You said
Yes,
I think so.
I think that's what we had in-
but for
let's
example,
see.
in that case,
me
dragon
say,
should have a black fire. No, dragon is very black.
Well, Rogan also has red. I mean, I would say, like Valyrian. Mark Simonetti did it for The Rise of a Dragon, depicting Valyrian's flame as being black with swirls of red in it. We have. I don't want to. Am I looking at? No, this is the appearance. The fire would sometimes be mentioned. Sometimes, sometimes you don't have the color of the fire. It's not necessarily mentioned.
Yes, but I think
yes, for some, so there seems to be at least for some of them a correspondence between the color. Certainly, Sunfire is said to have had golden flames.
Yes,
for example.
You don't have flame colors on all of them, but some of them we do. Like Tyraxes has purple flame.
Yeah,
I feel like there's one other that maybe had no.
Well, yes, you had.
With
more
purple,
gold there. Oh no, with purple you mean? Yes, I thought you had mentioned.
Anyways, so that was basically the idea. We figured, it's a small detail, but the fans would appreciate it. It's
the fans really appreciate it a lot. And again, I insist, but this is the truth. It's very complicated to create a pink dragon or a golden dragon. In this case, a dragon with almost pink fire, and look very threatening, very like this creature can really kill you very easily if he wants to. So not to look like as Linda said, like My Little Pony dragon. So that's really
sheep certainly looks afraid.
Yeah, totally. Poor sheep. She's going to be eaten in seconds. So this is. I think I didn't skip number 6. Wait a minute, because yes. Oh, because number 6 is with my friend Joshua Cairós. When this video will be published, I will have already published my interview with Joshua Cairós, and he talked a bit about the one interesting detail that is the hands. Okay.
Yeah,
you can explain why it has those hands on the I don't know how do you call that, the dress of the horse? I don't know even in Spanish how you say it.
Caparison in English is
yes.
I mean, obviously, if people aren't aware, I mean, the weirwood, the leaves of the weirwoods are red, and they are 5-pointed, and they have been described as looking like hands. So this idea here, but this is, and I'm pretty sure he came up with this specific idea on his own, that if the horse is caparison, it's supposed to have heraldic caparison. Well, everything has been done very makeshift, and we have a weirwood on.
I mean, I love the detail here in front, but it's tied together. There's no proper buckling in or anything. They've taken this sheet of somebody's bed or something, and tied it on, and put bloody hands on it to do the weirwood leaves.
And Joshua told me that in the beginning you were asking him for another piece. It was like a dining room scene or something like that. Could you please tell what you can say about that?
That was very ambitious. I mean, we were still feeling out like what people could do, what could fit within the time constraint and the budget constraint, because we don't have an unlimited budget. We had a budget we set aside for it, and we were trying to work it. And it was an extremely, like, we have the story that Mira tells of A Night of a Laughing Tree, and she tells about how there's the feast, and she describes all these things happening in the feast. And we thought, wouldn't it be cool to have this gigantic image that kind of depicts everything, like everything that's mentioned, like how the Stag Lord is having a drinking game with a night of skulls and kisses, and how the beautiful maid with purple, laughing purple eyes, dancing for white sword, and the red viper, and how the wild wolf had to ask her to dance at the quiet wolf. So basically, depict everything. Basically, like, that's a lot of characters.
It was
a lot. It would take too long. It would be a project like he could map out how to do it, and we could do pieces of it, but we couldn't do the whole thing. Maybe someday we'll hire somebody to do like a gigantic painting.
We were thinking of it having it like a triptych as well. So there'd be one piece and a middle piece and a centerpiece. But it would be something huge. But I guess that is sort of the dream illustration that we have if we ever have a big future project, that's the one that we'd love to do as well. But it turned out to be a little too big for the even.
No. But let's talk about this illustration. This is superb.
This was fantastic.
It's the first depiction of the Knight of the Laughing Tree. No, fighting with the armor. I don't remember.
I think I stumbled across some fan art and such, but I don't think there's ever been an official depiction of Knight of the Laughing Tree at all. There's obviously, again, this is not official, but like there is no canonical or none of the official depictions are canonical in the sense like this is exactly what George imagines. Like I guess the closest you get like Simonetti's Iron Throne, like where George closely worked with it, but it's just something that's never really been depicted before in the official material. We thought, I've only seen like one or two pieces of fan art, so I thought let's Joshua thought he could do, and he did a great job of it. I think it was really cool working with him because he's a very clear process. He's showing sketches. I think on his art station he actually showed like the various.
He did a character concept design first.
So we worked on that, and
we talked about the armor being mismatched pieces, and.
And then he gave us different angles to choose from. Like, okay, do you want this? But we picked this one because we thought this one would emphasize, in a way, that the Knight of a Laughing Tree is fairly short.
Yes, that is what I wanted to tell you, because I remember you see this picture and you see that this is not a big guy. This is not the mountain.
Yeah.
He's someone a bit short that just ride the horse, and surprisingly, is a great rider of the horse. But it doesn't look like. You don't know the story. You think this is a random, almost a child that got in a armor very quickly and just jump on top of the horse. But doesn't look like a big guy, an experienced rider, something like that.
No, it's not Gregor Clegane, that's for sure.
No.
Yes. No, but and there is also something that appears in almost all the illustration that has no dragons, that are horses. I guess, Linda, this was your idea, to have a lot of horses?
No, I have to be honest, we didn't really...
No, actually not, but I certainly, when the illustrations came in, had yes, they can do horses. Good. So,
not all artists can do horses, it has to be said. They can be complicated, so...
Yes, they can actually be quite difficult to get right, so... I know that when we decided, like on scenes like this where we knew somebody was going to be writing, that I did look at their existing art, to make sure that the horses looked all right.
Yes. Well, this piece was superb, and I also talked about Joshua about this. Joshua told me it was his idea to put actually the Mad King in the back with in the being like the president of the tournament, like trying to control everything. And well, it was very great. But let's move to the next one. And this one is another dragon. A dragon that when I was talking about Ertac with this one, I said, Ertac, this is my favorite of yours for this project. And he said, it's also my favorite for me. And he said, this is very Ertac style, with this kind of fire, blue and red fire, with this dragon, looks almost like an undead dragon, sometimes being so bluish. Why did you choose this depiction of Dreamfire?
Well, I mean, certainly it was partly motivated again by George having commented that Helena loved nothing more than flying on her dragon, and House of a Dragon has chosen not to show that. So again, it's a choice they make. It's not meant to. It's like but this is how it is in the book. So let's show it how it is in the books.
Yeah.
The TV show isn't able to capture it. So we took it. Now the color of a dragon's flame, I will say, I think when I was looking over the notes, we don't actually have a specific colors, but because it seemed always to be the case that the color of a dragon had an impact, we figured, okay, it probably has some blue elements to it to kind of fit.
And also, now that I think about it as well, it also has a very kind of ethereal quality to it, the mixing of colors.
Yes.
And I mean, the dragon's called Dreamfire.
Yes.
So
no, he did a great job with that flame.
it captures that really nicely.
And that was, it's also my favorite. Because I really love how dynamic it is, and I love seeing the writer on it as well.
Yes, and I love how Elena is writing like this kind of, I don't know how you call that, where she's seated is not like a throne, but for me it looks like the driver of a
spaceship.
Yes. It's like she's controlling.
It's almost like a cockpit.
Yes, a cockpit. Yes, that was the word I was looking for. Yes, like controlling a great plane. I love this kind of depiction of her
much better to have something like that than hanging on for dear life like poor Danny had in the last season of Game of Thrones there.
Yes, totally.
Flying full speed to the wall and hanging on by a thread.
Yes. She's also like she's moving some labels with a hand. So it totally looks like a cockpit. Yeah. I absolutely love this, and with this. These like green, like emerald jewels that are in that part of the cockpit, and of course the dragon is very menacing. Again, it's a dragon that is bluish or turquoise or something like that, but also very menacing, and maybe the most menacing dragon we have seen. You can see that it's a very, very big dragon, a very old dragon, as Dreamfire is when Elena is riding it. So. Yeah, I absolutely love. I for me also it's my Ertac's favorite for this.
It is a top-notch fantasy illustration, and I'm really happy with how it came out.
And then let's move to a dragon that we should see in House of the Dragon. At least we should have seen it in season 2 of House of the Dragon, but due to budget restraints, HBO decided to move it to season 3. This is Stormcloud. Well, tell me about this scene. It's also again by Rudolf Hima. This looks, for me, this dragon looks like, as you said, Rudolf Hima is a paleo artist. This looks not like a dragon, but this kind of, I don't know if it's called mesosaurs, the like dinosaurs that live in the water, like big dinosaurs.
It kind of looks a bit like a cross between, I think those are the plesiosaurs.
The plesiosaurs, yes.
And the pterodactyl. Has a little bit of...
No, we encouraged that, to be honest, and we wanted to, and also the idea is this is a very young dragon. It's gonna have a different shape than what, as when you compare it to what Grey Ghost or Tyraxes looks like. It's a dragon that is not as large yet, and they can change quite a lot as they age. So the biggest surprise for a lot of people is the color. Turquoise is how it is described. People said, "Oh, why is it called Stormcloud?" I found this really cool image of an electric storm during like a tornado warning that I posted it on Twitter, where the sky had this weird blue-green color. And so maybe that's what George was thinking. I also said if you want to be silly, maybe the idea is Aigner is colorblind, blue-green colorblind, so it looks great to him. But it's a really cool one. Obviously, I find Aigner III and his story and what happens to him and his brother Viserys is very compelling. I thought the Regency is one of the most interesting things.
Is this Viserys? No,
that is the idea. Yes, I saw one person comment on it on Twitter. No one else seems to have noticed besides yourself and this person. That is the idea. We initially his depiction of him was that he was held prisoner by a couple of guys. And we said, well, no, he's supposed to have actually been very clever, and he kind of disguised himself, and he would have gotten away for it, but another cabin boy gave him away. So we thought, great, he's disguised, and he's seeing his brother fly away. And when you look at Aigner, Aigner is in tears and he's looking back at the brother he's had to abandon.
Yes.
And in one other detail, the initial sketch had arrows sticking already, and we.
Oh.
It's too sad.
It's too sad. I mean, we know
yes,
how it
poor
ends.
dragon. He's not.
Yeah.
So we said let's show it the moments before any of the arrows find him.
Yes.
But such it's so sad, and I think if I really wanted to, if I were to commission a second piece from him, it would be the last moments of Stormcloud
arriving in Dragonstone, maybe.
Yeah, on Dragonstone, and Aigner holding him, and you see what's happened to the dragon. That would be like my ideal, like as a follow up, because it's a sacrifice of a dragon. That's very moving. So but very happy with it. It's very cool, and I think he did a fantastic job.
It's also a very dynamic illustration with the arrows moving. The dragon is superb. It's also like the I would say maybe the first depiction of Aegon III in this before becoming king. I don't remember illustration of Aegon as young.
Well, there are I believe there is at least one depiction in maybe Fire and Blood with
very young. I don't.
There's with an event related to an event that happens towards the end of the dance.
There is one of when he's a king. I am checking now in the wiki. An illustration by Magali Villeneuve.
I think I don't want to spoil. I don't know how spoilery. Like, do you assume everyone who's watching this is
spoil everything? Elio.
Well, I believe there's this depiction of him in Fire and Blood, or maybe it's the World Ice and Fire, or Rise of a Dragon. I don't remember which. Of when Rhaenyra is being killed. That he's there's a depiction of him being held and made to watch.
I don't know.
You're right.
I'm not sure whose it is, but yes.
I saw this one with by Magali when he's in, but when in that moment that apparently is already the King Aegon III. But I told you this is great. He looks like suffering a lot. Of course, he's riding. I don't know. Is Aegon first ride in the dragon? I don't know. In a stock. I don't know if the
first and final flight of Stormcloud. With Aegon. The first and final flight of Aegon actually is probably
totally
true.
Yes, and that would create an impact that would mark the future. Well, let's say goodbye to the dragons, because now, to be honest, I like dragons, but I like more what you design, your idea of the Torneo Harrenhal and their consequences. And the next one is Mark Smiley, that it's an author that he illustrated for the Race of the Dragon, or is his first time? It's his first time.
No, he did for the Rise of a Dragon. If you recall, there was a depiction of the Tower of the Hands.
Oh, yes.
That is one of the things he does. He is an incredibly talented artist and creator. He has created. We first got onto him because of his comic book series called Artesia, and he has a whole thing about his influences. And George and Isafire is one of the influences on Artesia, and he has so much attention to sort of, he knows like medieval armor, he knows like medieval costuming. He's created this huge medieval fantasy world of his own, and really appreciates kind of. So when we asked him, like, we want attorney, but we want. So the process here is like he did the sketch, and we did some tweaks. We did some decisions on how to depict it, and then he had this sketched out all these characters in the background. I said, okay, this character and these are going to be specific people, so we gotta need more detail on them, and then we kind of worked through it to this final image. And now as we told people, there are, by intention at least, there are like 19 characters.
So there are 19 characters. Could you please name the 19 characters? Because I remember when you showed me this illustration, I say, okay, that's Robert, that's Brandon, that's Ricard, this is John Connington, this is, wow, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, so 19 characters. I had been thinking about maybe making a contest of it later in the year.
Okay. Then reveal then. Okay.
Yes, but people have guessed.
I love Lewin Martel, because I think Lewin Martel was almost never shown, and being here so close to the king. I really love having Lewin Martel there, because
obviously some people are wondering like, oh, why are, because at this point he's already very paranoid Aries. He's probably not going to be actually surrounded by people, but again, we have to allow some creative license to depict this. So we have but people have gotten, I've seen one person has gotten almost everybody. There's one character that I don't think I've seen anyone guess. He's a bit of a deep cut character, so it'll be interesting when we get to that. And there's a couple of, so offline, if you want, after we're done recording, if you want me to go over it, I'd be happy to go over it with you.
I will wait then for the revelation, but you said 19 and I didn't count 19, so there is people.
How many do you think you've got? How many do you think you have?
I don't know. I think I stopped at 13 or something like that. So there is 6 there still there that I cannot find. And there are a lot. And there is someone in the back that I couldn't find. Because you can see some of them very clearly, but others are I am not able to get them. For example, this one you can look at the hat and discover who him is. John Connington in Sicily, for example, and Lord Went, but others are really complicated.
Complicated because I'll say yes, that's Lewin Martel, and a lot of people are guessing that's Arthur Dane, and I think, well, if it are supposed to be Arthur Dane, he would have Dawn on his back, so he, and also one of the things that we thought about is like this on this day we know who Rhaegar jousted against over the 5 days of attorney, but we don't know, like, okay, here we know he beat Brandon. We also know he beat other people. Were those people writing? Those people were also writing that day. They weren't necessarily down in the box. They were getting ready to do their own jousting.
Yes.
So some of the people who were listed as actual competitors are not in there because we figure, well, like Bronze John Royce, Barristan Selmy, aren't there because of that. So yeah, it was great fun anyways, and again he incorporated the heraldry, he incorporated the colors of some of these people.
It was your idea or his idea to put the actual Fire and Blood?
That was his idea. That was a really cool idea. Yeah. So, and initially he tried to do the dragon without the metal plate there. And just have it as this wingless dragon going all the way up to the head of the horse. And I was like, well, the dragons always have wings. We can't have it wingless. So, we said, well, how about turning the metal breastplate into a sort of a wing shape? And this is actually based on a piece of late medieval, early Renaissance of a sketch of what looked to be like a sketch for a pageant costume of a knight on a horse that was made to look like a dragon with like big wings, and so he loved that idea, and he used that to kind of sell the concept.
There were a lot of reference images being tossed around in
we were discussing on over like Discord. I would share images of like suggestions, and I would show like heraldry and the colors and so on.
We had another thought, I'd say, that Rhaegar and Brandon featured in another idea we had. We also had the idea of illustrating the scene where Brandon shows up with his companions and calling for Rhaegar to come out and die.
In King's Landing.
No, but as in the Rhaegar and Brandon connection, sort of. But we couldn't quite see how it would be done sort of dynamically. And I also said, we've not seen Rhaegar jousting, actually. We've seen him having won the joust and crowning Lyanna, but we haven't actually seen any jousting. So
yes, and but also Brandon and Rhaegar maybe both would appear in that illustration that you were thinking to other Joshua. That's like the
absolutely.
The banquet.
Been there. Everyone that was mentioned would have been present somewhere.
Yes. No, but this is so great, and just as you said, playing the who's who in this picture will be a fun game for us fans. Someone from Westeros.org from the forum or from Reddit, some crazy fan will find the 19, but I told you I stopped at 12 or 13 and I am proud of reaching 13, to be honest, because some were not very easily. Well, let's move to the next one, to number 10. That is the one I am going to use to for the miniature of this video and posting Los Terrenos, because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful and sad and romantic and everything at the same time. Wow, Sarah and Ned. Wow, tell me about this, please.
Yeah.
Well, everyone knows, I think, that I am a huge fan of the Danes in general. They did a mystique. There's something magical about them.
But I still had to suggest this.
But you suggested it.
It's,
Yes. Your suggestion.
Yeah.
Because this is seen as far as I know, I've never seen anyone depict, like, we know that Ned goes to Starfall. We were told this. He takes the sword to the grieving sister. And we've never seen it. So we thought, why not do just say Ashara Dane and Ned at Starfall, and Ned has presented Dawn to her, and Rene took it from there.
I love the way Dawn came out, the pale.
Yes,
milk glass.
A lot of people feel as it's the best depiction of the sword.
Yes.
Could have been bigger. It maybe could have been bigger. I mean, it's a great sword, but it's. I didn't want to specify because it just looks so perfect as it is.
Yeah.
But and just the whiteness of it.
So white. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. So he did a fantastic job of it. I was really happy. I think the only note we had two. So our original idea was we wanted to have the Pale Stone sword.
Yes, because I think the werewolf. Because I think you wrote on Twitter that the werewolf was a later idea, no?
Yeah. Originally we wanted the Pale Stone sword there because that has the big presence in the story of what is supposed to happen to Ashara after this. But Rene felt it was too distracting and distancing, so he put a tree back there, and then we said, well, if we're gonna have a tree, like, why not make it a weirwood? Because like the red and the white if together would, and like he said, oh, that's great. When we said that, he really was a town with it. Really, and he thought it was even more dramatic. And I felt it was just our. We've told people again, because some people say, "Oh, this is official art." It's not official. It's official Westeros.org art, but it's not official George R. R. Martin. I mean, we have shown all the art to George.
But the wiki for me is semi-canonical. So I would say this is semi-canonical.
It depicts a scene that in some fashion that we have heard about, whether it happened exactly. I mean, obviously, it is a poetic image. That may not exactly represent reality. Just like George said, I mean, Ned's dream of meeting fighting the Three Kings Guard at the Tower of Joy is a dream. It may not exactly represent exactly how things happened or what took place or what was said. It's a dream of his of what happened. So this is Rene Aigner's dream of the meeting.
And I like how it also connects back to, obviously, we have several illustrations of Ned at the heart tree in Winterfell with his sword. Yeah. So you kind of get two important elements out of Ned's story with the weirwood as well.
I love how beautiful, how detailed is the Dane emblem here in the necklace. So beautiful, and also Asara costume, and she's like this crying scene of, you can see Asara is very young, and Ned, you can see Ned with the beard and the hair, but also he's still a young guy. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so
I think the other detail is I think initially Ashara was a bit shorter, and then one of the things we were told about Ashara Dane is she's tall. We figured, Ned is kind of average height, maybe make her almost as tall, more or less. So and he did that pretty quickly, and we're very happy with it. We're very happy. It's a beautiful piece.
So beautiful. It's so gorgeous, and you say the sword is almost glowing. It's hard to make a sword so white that it's almost glowing without looking it too magical or too ridiculous. But this is done, so it should actually be glowing a bit. So that's
one of the prettiest swords I've seen.
No, it's nuts. It's not, and well, Rene did a super job doing this. Yeah. Well, let's move to the last two that are also by Spanish illustrators. The first one for me is like very, very special because it was done by Arantza, And this is, I guess, is the first ever illustration of Daenerys' vision of Rhaegar and Elia. I don't remember any illustration of this specific
I
moment.
don't remember any in the books or in anything. I think, I mean, there's Mark Simonetti for his calendar did a piece of her after this point with the Undying trying to suck the life out of her. But this particular moment, maybe some fan art, I don't know. But this was.
I love how it came out, and obviously, the House of the Undying is one of my favorite passages in the books. That's one of my favorite parts of the House of the Undying. And one of those moments where you really got the sense that there was so much more to the story.
Yes.
So having an illustration of that, and also there's a fairy tale quality to Karth and House of the Undying, is what Elio and I have always been saying. And there is a fairy tale quality, an ethereal quality to the way that Arantza has illustrated this. The dappling light and the darkness in the corridor there and everything. It's very, I mean, it's very romantic, and it's very
I would say this was the most beautiful, as pure beauty of those scenes with the light. Well, Arantza is a fan. Arantza has done a lot of fairy tales, a lot of fairies, a lot of ethereal and magical and very beautiful drawings. And this really encapsulates.
Yes, I think people talk about how like Elia looks like an angel, and
I mean, there's a kind of a pre-Raphaelite quality to her, I would say. Almost.
Yes,
and you know, I am not going to pass up the opportunity to have somebody like Arantza illustrating Rhaegar. I mean, you know, I'm not going to pass up that opportunity. So
no, and I love well, first of all, this is the only canonical moment in A Song of Ice and Fire that the words A Song of Ice and Fire are expressed. So maybe in 5 books, in 5,000 pages, is the most important moment of the whole story.
I find it's really interesting because it's a moment, as we say when I wrote about it, like it's a moment that kind of connects the past and the present and the future all together in like one moment. So no, it's a wonderful image, and she did a gorgeous job. I think the most work we did was initially try to explain like how a scene should look, because you know this is this magical thing where she has this instruction about you know but she's supposed to take the last door on the left or whatever always, and so she's passing doors. It's this endless hallway, and so we kind of had to work out, like I actually did like a quick little MS Paint sketch of like how we think it's look, and to get it to kind of look, and then she kind of worked her magic, and it came out beautifully. And you know, it was her idea to use a light like this to kind of shine down and make this beautiful.
It really looks like there's a portal that is sort of open, where she's
a portal was open.
She's totally. She's lit differently because she's in this darker space, and then
that's fantastic.
The characters are so beautiful. The face of Daenerys so beautiful. Rhaegar is you can also the purple eyes, and Elia, as you said, looks like an angel, one black angel. Daenerys, well, I love Arantza, so I am not neutral, okay, but how she draws every single piece of hair, it's crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy. So
that was one area where her initial depiction, because it's our fault not having she had much longer hair. Yes. And then we go, oh no, but this is initially we were so pleased with it, but wait a second, her hair is quite short. It's just enough to have like braid, like a short braid.
Yeah.
So I've seen people argue the hair should be even shorter, possibly right, but we kind of wanted to go between sort of.
This is art, okay? Please.
It's art. It's art. It's not supposed to be literally 100% exactly. Yes. You can imagine how you want it. It's how the artist envisions it, and she does such beautiful hair as well.
Yeah.
We felt like having it cropped down to just off over the shoulder wouldn't look as lovely. So we're happy with that.
And Rudolf looks like he's gonna bite your finger off.
And of course, Daenerys is wearing the typical costume from Karth that is so wonderful. So it's totally canonical. You can see Rhaegar Arp, that is it's also
Yes.
present in the last illustration we will see, but and to create an image of John Gagon like sucking the nipple, being so beautiful, like the perfect imagery of how a mother is lactating the first time for her baby. It's so beautiful in so many levels. It's I have no words to say this, and how Rhaegar is seeing Daenerys.
Yes.
You can see that Rhaegar is seeing someone that is not in the room. So
yeah, the way that she can't tell if he's turning towards her and actually addressing her and
yes.
looking at her, and
yes. No, she kept her beautifully.
We're
very pleased. And we have to say, we have to thank you for making the introduction to Arantza. We had never had any direct contact with her before, so it was lovely to be able to. But this, by coincidence, I mean, you mentioned that you were visiting her, and well, we've got this project, and maybe you could ask her, and so thank you very much for it. Worked very well.
Yeah.
Well, I to have like 0.1% of part of this being live is my second biggest contribution to this fandom after helping with the translation of The World of Ice and Fire. And I think this is biggest because at the end, Gigamesh didn't listen to a lot of my instructions of the translation, but well, I did what I could. But this is so powerful, so beautiful, and every fan of this world, every fan of George R. Martin work has goosebumps every time you read this is the Song of Ice and Fire, and this is the moment of the Song of Ice and Fire. So wow, I could talk for hours for this picture. I will talk with Arantza so she can give me not the original but a copy or something like that to post it in my house, because I thought Arantza couldn't surpass herself after I love her Sansa depiction for the calendar. I also love her Daenerys depiction for the calendar. This is the cover of the calendar. But this one, with being myself not especially a Rhaegar fan, this is simply too good. But well, let's move to the next one, because we have been talking for 1 hour and you have a live and that's
Oh, spam.
Wow.
That's what we said when we saw it.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
And there's so much detail in it. I mean, Fran, he had such an interesting approach to it all, where he kind of thought very hard about how it should look, and he kind of collected images and laid out how he envisions it and what we thought about the color palette, and so he had a very interesting process of working with him. And then
I have to say, Fran is of the illustrators, I know the Spanish ones, the one who is knows more about your world, about the World of Ice and Fire. He has read more times the Songs of Ice and Fire. Of course, Joshua has read it, Arantza has read the books, but Fran knows a lot about this world. So I remember when I was talking with him, so okay, this is Summer. Okay, let's put actual lore. Let's put a Valyrian warrior on one side that is no longer in the building, but also someone from the Rhoynar, a Rhoynar warrior. Let's put the Dornish signal. Let's put the actual White Guards. But how was your idea for this?
You see Vera. Have you noticed at the bottom there where the man is sitting?
What this thing?
There. This. Oh, sorry. I'm pointing. I'm trying to point. No. Right where he's sitting. Right where he's sitting.
Yes.
Go to the left. No. Not him. The
guys outside.
The knight in the foreground.
Oh.
There. Under him. Look at what.
I can. What is here? I cannot.
Yes. Do you see?
There's some figures on that rock.
There are some. Yes. Oh, that's a painting. Oh, I didn't see it. Wow. So this is Daeron. This is Daeron, the marriage.
Yes, Daeron and Mariah.
Oh, Daeron and Mariah Martell. Oh, I interview Joshua and I didn't see this. Wow, so great. Wow. Yes,
the little details there, man. He kind of came up with. So this is Summerhall is a magical kind of name. It's a place of tragedy. It's an important place in the lore. We haven't directly seen it. Mark Simonetti did a depiction of it burning down for the fire, but we are told by Barristan that the place that Rhaegar loved best was Summerhall, but he often would go there alone to and be there, sleep under the stars. And we thought, and I've always had this This is headcanon. This is, as people call it, this is entirely our imagined story of what.
It's very logical. I was talking with Fran. I say, if you look at the map,
Yes.
Summerhall is in the middle between Summerhall and the Tower of Joy. So it's very logical that they would just, of course, Rhaegar goes there because it's his favorite place. But it's logical that he stepped there in the middle of the ground, of all these people going to door. It's a logical place to stop. It's not a deviation.
No. And also, I have to say, this was actually for the newest calendar, the 2025 calendar. I actually, we were asked kind of if we had any ideas and to help kind of with a little bit of the details of it. And if you said, if you're looking for another image of a place, like Summerhall's never been depicted, and I said, I have this image in my head where there's a little fire in the middle of the ruins, and there's a harper, and there's some people with him, and there's some horses, and it could be travelers just staying there. It could be people could make what they want of it. So I they didn't use that idea, and I thought, well, why not for this?
Franz said originally it was only going to be Rhaegar and Lyanna, and then he thought it would be better to add more people, no? Something like that.
Yes, we know that there are more people. It said that Rhaegar and half a dozen companions or something like that, or a dozen. There's quite a few people, and I figured, okay, let's put in more people, and there should be horses around.
Yes,
and
of course. When Fran told me about horses, I was thinking, of course, Linda said you have to include horses.
Yes.
I think this one, I'd say that Elio was taking the lead on this one. I mean, it was his idea from the start for the calendar, and then he. I think this was the one that you were the most insistent on, and really, and then it came out beautifully.
Yes.
You had a very strong image of this one in your head.
Yeah. This one is.
So you always had the idea of having Summerhall with Rhaegar and Lyanna. It was always in your head. But
I've always imagined, because if it's such an important place to him, and it makes sense that if he's going to Dorne to, that it going is a straight shot down basically from Harrenhal to Summerhall. Why not? I mean, maybe it didn't happen. Maybe they went more directly to the Tower. We don't really know yet. But I thought I love the image, and Fran did a fantastic job. And I mean, and he is such a fan. He was like, I am going to work on this until like the last minute, because I want to just put in so much detail, so much time, tweak everything to make it perfect, and he was happy with it. So he was done with sort of his. Quite a while ago, but then he said, I want to hold on to it longer because I want to. He couldn't stop himself from just doing some more.
There are some details that, for example, when I see Lyanna there, I can already perceive that Lyanna is pregnant. That is why she's sitting. She cannot be standing up a lot of time. You can see why these guys are Jourdain, because he has Dawn in his back. You can very easily recognize Ashara, because even you can see her eyes. You can see that this veil has to be purple, so to mirror the colors of House Dane, and also talking from the artistic point of view that I go with Fran. There are some rings, but with the fire in the middle, you actually get attracted to that point of the painting that is specifically in the center. You can see also I don't know if it's the sunset, but also the light of the sunset in the back also.
Yes, the lighting was very important. You talk a lot about the lighting.
Yes, I really wanted that sort of sky where the sun is deep down, and you're getting the sky is turning to pink and purples, and he went away from the purple colors because he said it. But he was right. I said, like, we trust your artistic knowledge. You're the artist, we're not. But it fit the palette of the whole image better to have that more of that rosy, sunset point. So it's a gorgeous image. I'm really happy with it. I couldn't be more pleased.
It's super, and it has, as you said, so many details. I didn't show the detail of the painting now. And I
think there's a dragon down there as well.
painting.
Under them, I think there's a dragon as well. If you look,
In
where Darren and Mariah, I think that's supposed to be a dragon.
Yes.
That white shape.
I will film it. Yes. Here. Yes. Behind Mariah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can kind of see the wings and the tail.
Yes. And
I think there might be a writer. I think that might have been him. I think he said there's the idea of depicting Aigner and his sisters on their dragons are kind of scattered around, and but it was fantastic to work with him. He's
the
so
columns
thoughtful,
with the dragons,
so
everything is so beautiful, and wow, it was great. Well, I don't know. It was amazing, and for me, it was also an honor to when Elio first talked me about this, and he was showing me. I remember when Elio showed me the first raw drawing of this. He sent me some ruins and a fire and someone with yellow or white hair, and I thought it was Baestolorro. I thought it was where Daenerys goes in the desert because I saw the ruins, I saw the fire, I saw someone with a. Okay, well, this is where Daenerys stopped, and it's canon. She goes through some ruins in her way to the Vast of Rag, and Elio say, "Look better," and I said, "Wow, it's right." It was so great. So, Elio, this is your favorite, and Linda, what's your favorite illustration? Maybe this one too. Maybe the one of the House of the Undying.
Yeah, I think from the story point of view, it have to be the House of the Undying, but it's hard to pick. I mean, we're so pleased with all of them, but those certainly are favorite moments. But I really love seeing the Harrenhal tournament as well, and the dragons. They're all so beautiful and so on. So, but yes, I do have a soft spot for the House of the Undying.
They are so beautiful. And just to close the video, I want again to insist in what I said at the beginning. Elio and Linda could have perfectly just for her own gift for themselves, for celebrate the anniversary of their wedding and their Boil of Ash and Fire, just order those illustrations and put them in their house with some frames, and only then would enjoy them. Instead, they chose to do this art, knowing how internet works. Once someone posts something like this in the internet, a lot of people will post it in Tumblr and blogs and a lot of places. So knowing this, the instant they put it online, people would use it for their own things. So
that's been half the fun, actually putting it out there. We've been waiting for when the anniversary period was going to start and we could start putting it out. I was like, okay, is it time yet? Do we get, because seeing reactions and seeing people's discussions, I mean, that's part of the whole community thing that has made A Song of Ice and Fire so central for us. It's actually discussing it online. None of this would have been happening in the first place if we hadn't been part of a community discussing things online. We wouldn't have been making the website. None of it would have come out of that if it wasn't for an online community. And Elio's headphones don't quite like my ears.
No. So, but that's what I wanted to say. I am nobody, but in the name of the community. But I think I can really say that because a lot of people is saying the same. Thanks a lot for keeping this war alive, for keeping this light still flaring so hot and lighting all of us. And we have no new canon book of this world since 6 years ago with Fire and Blood. The only new book we received was The Rise of the Dragon. That was thanks to Elio, but thanks to George, but thanks to you, because you were the ones who actually carrying the heavy weight of this product, of this idea of The Rise of the Dragon. And now, again, this year, we had second season of House of the Dragon. It was not as good as we expected. It was most of all as canonical as we expected, but then you gave us this gift to close the year in a very high mood and being very moved by this amazing illustration that you ordered and you gave us as a gift for the community. So thanks a lot, Elio and Linda. People doesn't know how good you are, how good your heads are, but most especially nobody really can assume how crazy amount of work you do to help this world be alive. So thank you very much, Elio and
Thank you,
Linda,
Javi. Thank you so
for
much.
you are
It-
giving to us.
It's been our pleasure, and we really hope that that it gives a lot of enjoyment to people to have this art, and we'll guess we'll have to do it again in 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we'll do 20 images.
No,
but-
I promise you something. When the next anniversary of the House of the Dragon, I will already have been in Sweden, and I will have already visited you. I absolutely promise you, and I hope it will be not in 10, but in 1, maybe next year, in 2 years. Next year looks promising.
Yes, just don't do it in February if you don't like the snow.
No. I don't want to freeze myself. Okay, well, it was so great having you. So, well, thank you very much. If you want to say something to goodbye, or I will just close this video.
No, just want to thank all the fans for all their support, all the love they've sent to us over the years, and just keep loving the world, keep loving Starways and Fire, and yeah.
No, but we'll stick around as long as the internet is around, and you know where to find us, and we're always happy to talk about the world and share the love that we have for the world with everyone else who loves it.
Well, thank you very much. Y adiós a todos. Adiós.
Y nada más, gracias por ver el vídeo, gracias por darle me gusta, compartir y suscribiros. Si os habéis quedado con ganas de más charlas con Elio y Linda, pues aquí aparecerán recomendados más charlas que he tenido con ellos. El año pasado tuve una charla buenísima hablando de teorías de la saga con ellos. Y ya sabéis, semana que viene, si no hay sorpresa última hora, mi charla con George Martin. Posiblemente semana que viene, si no siguiente, sorteo de esta edición especial ilustrada aniversario de Juego de Tronos, y última semana del mes de noviembre, martes, directo mensual del canal para que me hagáis preguntas sobre mi charla con John Martin. Ya habré sacado el vídeo si no hay ninguna sorpresa. Y jueves, último jueves del mes de noviembre, entrevista a una absoluta leyenda como Sten Smith. Y encima en diciembre se vienen más cosas. Muchas gracias por haber aguantado en un vídeo tan largo pero tan especial. Hablar con Linda es increíble. Muchas gracias y nos vemos semana que viene. Ya digo, si no pasa nada, por fin hablaré de los momentos más increíbles de mi vida. Mi cena con George Martin. Adiós.